First Coast's most accurate forecast from the First Coast News Weather Team, certified by Weather Rate, sponsored by AC Designs.
Happy Monday, Lou.
Happy Monday, Ross. There is such a thing as a happy Monday, I promise.
We try to be.
What a beautiful picture. I love this picture. You see so many cool things in the texture with this satellite image. You see the sea breeze so nicely. You see the thunderstorms to the south popping. Gosh, you really see some good towering thunderstorms moving out of Putnam into Clay now. It's just kind of, let's watch the sea breeze collision. I think that's kind of what our story is for the afternoon, huh?
Yeah, well, and I zoomed in a little bit to give you a closer look at where you can actually see that sea breeze.
Yeah.
Very distinct across coastal Georgia down into really northern St. Johns County there as well. But some towering queue from those thunderstorms off to the south of Duval. And here's what the radar is showing you. You can see some of those thunderstorms, as Lou mentioned, in Putnam County, also down in Flagler and southern St. Johns County, really where the majority of the thunderstorm activity is currently at right now, Lou.
Yeah, and expect as that sea breeze continues to push west, expect more to begin to pop through the rest of our afternoon. Good bit of lightning. We've seen so much lightning. We've had some awesome weather watchers pictures with the lightning too. I'm beginning to wonder how these people are doing it. It's unbelievable the pictures we're getting. Just west of Marineland, you're hearing the rumbles of thunder there. I mean, that's super southern St. Johns County now with Hastings even above you. But we'll watch that thing slowly drift and then out towards Putnam County. But really, this is more West Putnam. Might be over Hogwaller. I'm trying to get my bearings right for Hogwaller relative to Interlochen and Palatka, but we're right there in the rural section of Putnam County, getting hammered pretty hard, close to Keystone as well.
Yeah, I was going to say not too far from Keystone Heights down there.
Yep, there you go. You asked, how's your Monday going, Ross?
I mean, it's pretty good. It's just getting started.
Yeah.
I see, unlike you, I mean, you've been up bright and early. You're that bushy-tailed bunny. Every morning when you come in here, I at least get to sleep in until right around sunrise. So
at least
I'm only 2 hours into my workday.
But you are, and I try to bring up points for a point. You are an early morning exerciser, though. You like to run.
I do, yeah.
You hit the gym.
Yeah.
I think, of course, our theme continues to be thunderstorms, certainly. But I have been keenly just aware, just because of my own personal life, and I know yours as well, and everybody who's watching, it's if you got any outdoor stuff to do, early morning is the best time to do it, but it's still oppressive. And so I think our story kind of transitions for the rest of our week into these temperatures. And not quite, we're not seeing any heat advisories. At least I haven't seen any, Ross, and correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen any advisories. No. I haven't seen any warnings, excessive heat, but it's still going to be noticeable. And it's still going to be the type of heat that you're going to have to find breaks and just try to limit outdoor activities in the hottest part of our day, which is essentially right now. And I'm sitting here talking about it in the air-conditioned room, and I feel myself sweating through my suit already. It's just brutal out there, kind of soul-sucking sort of heat.
Because I'll often either go to the gym or I'll do my run sometime between 8:30 and 9:30. And even at that point in the day, less than a mile away, and I'm drenched. Yeah. And this might be TMI, but last week I do a 3-mile run on Thursdays, and it was probably the 2-mile mark. Soaked through. My shorts were soaked.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
not a dry stitch on me. So.
Well, there's science behind that. That's why we talk about heat index values. That's why we talk about sensible temperatures. I know a lot of, people ask the question, you say it's 94 with a heat index of 107. Why don't you just say 107? But there's a science behind it, and there's a reason. So, human bodies, the reason we sweat is so that sweat can evaporate and then cool our skin. And then when it's oppressively humid like that, we don't have that. We sweat certainly, but it just doesn't evaporate as efficiently. Mm-hmm. So we're just sitting in it, and we become soup. Speaking of TMI, right? But certainly, and that's why, as we kind of devolve into different parts of the discussion, you hear the talk, desert heat, it's a dry heat. You go out to Vegas, it's a dry heat. What the heck does that even mean? 108 in Vegas feels every bit 108, and it's absolutely horrible. You feel like you're cooking when you're on the strip or you're walking around the desert, but you get in that pool, and then you get out, how fast that water evaporates off your skin, you get a quick like chill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so we are on the opposite end of that spectrum. You get in the pool and you get out and you just kind of sit there and you continue to marinate. So
when I lived in Oklahoma, you could literally drive from the eastern end of the state to the western edge, and you would have that same thing happen.
Yeah.
Like in Tulsa and Oklahoma City, still very, very humid, but you drive just 50 miles west, you're then behind the dry line.
Yeah.
Super dry air, and as you mentioned, it's just like the temperature might be the same, but it feels drastically different, a complete 180 kind of heat. So
again, there's your kind of dew point / heat index lesson for the day, why we mention it. You may say, 92, well, we're used to that in Jacksonville. Normal would be around 90, but look at that. I mean,
sheesh, 105 in St. Thomas Island.
They're in the box, man. They're getting those southerly and southeasterly winds. That moisture's just getting fed right off the ocean. I see that 105. I can literally feel what they're going through. And they, the rain that they've had, it's all just kind of soaked into the ditches and the grass and the yards there. I can just it's a swamp. So
I think
all evaporating into the air.
Something that I learned, since coming here that I didn't realize. So if you're new to the area, you might think the sea breeze is actually it'll cool you off every day. At least that's what I thought when I first moved here. But really, when you think about the science, that's actually more humid, moisture air that moves on shore. So perhaps the temperature drops by 2, maybe 3 degrees, but the dew point then goes up by 2 or 3. So really your heat index or real field temperature might actually feel warmer and or worse after the sea breeze comes through than it did before, just because it's even more humid air in place.
For sure. That immediate, the breeze, but then you kind of have to start breathing a little heavier. I tell you, like the big thing for me is, you start hoping for the thunderstorms. You get in the heat, the humidity. It's like, when is the rain coming? Because that's where you start to see some of the cooling. Palm Coast registering an 82. Very likely we saw those storms down in Flatbush because they've had a cooling shower. Now we're not getting a reading out of Palatka, and again we showed the thunderstorms are closer to Keystone, but Keystone hasn't had that rain just yet, still registering that 98, but the rain helps. So I know rain is the thing that we cancel plans over rain and we have to move things inside because of rain, but really the rain is the atmosphere kind of releasing the pressure valve and helping that cooker, kind of take a deep breath. So
trying to balance the energy a little bit.
100%. And then we can get a greater talk about hurricanes. That's exactly what they're doing on Earth, though we never want to see that. But truly, and so you're balancing energy. I love. There's no better feeling to me as we talk about heat, and I'm going to be talking about heat during the 5 a lot. Is when that first cloud comes over the sun. Like you've been under the sun, full sunlight, like you're in the yard, you're doing your work, and then those thunderstorms start to build, and you get that first towering cumulus. Like I don't know, it could be 10 miles away, but you look over and it's blocking the sun. You're like, oh, thank you. Like that one little shade, you feel the temperature go down.
That immediate relief.
Yeah, about 5, 6, exactly. 5 or 6 degrees it goes down. Then you get the outflow boundary. It's like, okay, the thunderstorm's coming. I can relax a little bit. So sometimes as we look at the modeling and we look, within some of these storms, we see the initialization of our model here and might be overdoing it a bit, but it's pretty spot on with what we're seeing in Western Putnam. And so you get some of those storms, and certainly we get the 40, 50 mile an hour winds, and that's damaging. And you get a lot of lightning, and that's dangerous. But sometimes, we forecast the rain. Maybe you take it as a positive. Could use it on the grass. It's not necessarily the worst thing in the world to get it going. Now, I worry. I say worry lightly. I don't worry, but I just think, Tuesday into Wednesday, Thursday, as we get a little more high pressure taken over and we get a little more sinking air, I'm thinking our rain chances start to go down a little bit.
Yeah.
And I know you're forecasting that as well. Modeling still showing some scattered activity for us Tuesday, but in our 7-day earlier on GMJ, I know we were talking about, even dropping the rain chances to that 40% range midweek.
And I think it's on Wednesday specifically. We also get a little bit more of a southeasterly wind on Wednesday. I think tomorrow's still generally out of the southwest. Until the sea breeze kind of kicks in. So maybe even with that sinking air and the high humidity, still get some activity. But I think Wednesday, even lesser rain chances. And then, we kind of head into the back half of the week. But
yeah, because with sinking air too, obviously it puts a kind of a cap on storms, and that's not an end-all be-all. You certainly can break the cap, and you get the heat and humidity going, and kind of some bets are off with that. But sinking air, what else that does, that's a hot air, So you think about a parcel of air coming down the slope from high pressure sinking, you're talking about it's warming the whole way down, and compressing as we get more pressure on top of it as it gets. So, you look at Wednesday, Thursday, mid-90s, that's no stretch. And so that kind of, you take the trade-off. All right, so maybe we lower our rain chances a bit, but we're not going to get cooled off and then get that sinking air. So we deal with mid-90s.
We are in the cooker.
We're in the cooker, man. That's kind of my, Weather Story 1A is always tracking storms this time of year and watching where some of the most dangerous will be in the here and now. But Weather Story 1B for me is going to be let's take breaks and let's find it. So what are we looking at? Where are we going?
Well, okay, so because for me,
Yep.
the weather forecast can seem a little monotonous at times once you get into the summer,
100%.
because there's not going to be a whole lot of variety. Every day you're always going to be watching thunderstorms to a certain extent.
Yep.
The severity and where they're at is always going to change, but somewhere is always going to have a storm. It's always going to be hot and humid. Again, the severity may change. So I like to kind of take a larger view of what else is happening. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorms further off to our north. I wanted to highlight, though, West Virginia. I don't know if you saw, yesterday, Lou.
Devastating flooding.
Yeah, I mean, major flash flooding concerns to them. They had anywhere from like 2 to 4 inches fall in, 30 or 45 minutes or so.
Had some deaths reported, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that's really the portion of West Virginia that butts right up towards that southwestern corner of Pennsylvania. So unfortunately, they're still continuing to see some rain. And then we have potentially multiple days of severe weather out across the northern plains and upper Midwest, Lou. You got Minneapolis and Minnesota all the way down then into central Nebraska. They're going to be watching for, some very, very strong storms, some big hail, upwards of, potentially egg to golf ball size hail, potentially in some of those. Tuesday, tomorrow then, similar story down into Kansas and northern Oklahoma. We'll often see these mesoscale convective complexes drop down out of the northern plains. And then by Wednesday, that whole kind of system begins to shift a little bit further eastward from Chicago and Grand Rapids, Michigan, all the way down into Arkansas, Missouri, and, just north of the Dallas Metroplex. So still plenty of severe weather and thunderstorm activity off to the north. So if you have any travel plans the next couple of days, if you're trying to beat the heat here, just know that there is some severe weather happening across the central part of the country through at least the first half of this week, Lou.
Go back to that graphic one more time for me,
Yeah.
if you would. And I like, just as an education, as we look at the SPC risks. So, the nomenclature is something we're used to as meteorologists, but using the terminology, they've got the low risk, then they've got a marginal, slight, enhanced, moderate, and high. And for a lot of, I just appreciate the fact that we're using the 1 through 5 scale on top of this as well, because sometimes maybe people might get marginal and slight and moderate. Like, what truly is the difference in those words, right? But the numbers matter. And when you start to see the enhanced risk of thunderstorms, there is going to be damaging storms, and there's going to be life-threatening danger there. And so keep those color codes, but also those numbers kind of, and we will, of course, mention it and talk about it extensively when we're forecasting for our area. We don't see that, fortunately, too often this time of year. We'll be in that marginal and slight from time to time. Enhanced and then moderate and high is just some of those things you kind of have to stop, and the hair on the back of your neck will start to stand up a little bit, thinking about the danger that they'll experience. But notice the light green shading, so it's not even on that scale. It's technically the 0, the no risk of real severe weather, but the risk of getting thunderstorms, and we stay in that. I mean, we stay painted that light green
all summer.
That's just our color.
Yeah.
And then you kind of you raise eyebrows when you start to see us find those yellow spots with the slight. So getting that 2 out of 5. Futurecast for the next couple of days.
Yeah, so this
pop-ups.
is so that's again tomorrow. Here's Wednesday there then, Lou.
Yep, and so we'll drop it a little bit as far as coverage of those thunderstorms as we go through our Wednesday.
I was thinking maybe a little bit further inland on Wednesday.
Yeah, totally agree, and not overly impressed with the rainfall amounts by Wednesday. That Wednesday drop, man, that's going to be, I tell you, real pleasant.
Yeah.
70s, but maybe
we dropped
lower.
from a dew point of 73 to 71 for that brief day.
Woo!
And then right back up by the end of the week and the weekend here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's just when you factor in those dew points and the actual air temperature, not a whole lot of variety with the heat index. Maybe a little bit by Friday, but
and our friends in St. Simon's already feeling that 105, which we saw. So just kind of settle into that cooker. Oh, we briefly mentioned hurricanes and tropical development. Pacific side still got some things they're monitoring, and that's gotten juicy, but. For us, we just hold on to this 7 days, 7 days at a time. We'll enjoy it, and that's why we do our 7-day forecast as well. Notice those average temperatures there at the bottom of your screen, and relative to what we'll experience, we stay up a little bit above the climatological average for the time of year, well above, in fact, as we go to Wednesday, Thursday, Ross.
Yeah, and I was just going to add, what are your thoughts for the upcoming weekend for Saturday and Sunday?
I mean,
since everyone's always kind of looking ahead to the weekend a little bit, it looks like the overall surface flow is going to be predominantly out of the southeast. So
it looks. I mean, if that high shifts a little bit further east, hold on to those southeast winds, and then you get those beach looks that are a little more tropical looking, little Bahamas looking water out there. You can notice on some of our cameras by the weekend. I'm holding on to this. Those we definitely could use a weekend where a little less on the storm coverage and a little more outdoor activity, enjoying the evenings. So I can dig it.
All righty,
we'll look closer as we get closer.
That's all we've got, folks. He is Chief Meteorologist Lewis Turner. I'm Meteorologist Ross Mumal. We will have more coming up on the 5 o'clock news. Until then, though, take care.